today whose work is on the walls. We have Chad Kesser to my right, who created the collages behind you there. And then we also have Hawk Trackler, who created a whole mixture of work kind of to that other side. Um, so we are just here for portfolio this evening. Portfolio is fun because it looks different every time we put it on, depending on who our artists are, but then also who are in the room with us, because not only is it directed by us, but it's also supposed to be like participatory. So if questions come to mind throughout this evening, you're more than welcome to share them, or even closer to the end of our time together, you'll have like specific opportunity to shout out. So yeah. Okay. Well, to get started, I'm gonna do the classic. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself as an artist and your practice? Like the first couple things somebody should know about you and your work.
About myself, huh? Uh, Self-taught idiot. I didn't go to school for anything. A lot of my like influences come from like just the punk albums and like skateboard magazines and stuff I grew up on. Always, my work's always just kind of exploring a lot of texture, really. Um, and it's not always obvious, but underneath everything is essentially just trying to remind people that you're going to be dead someday. So try to remember that and make the most of things.
I love it. I love it. Uplifting. What about you, Hawk?
I enjoy just doing street art. I enjoy making it for the person passing by. I guess I don't really think about it as much as I should. I don't know. Yeah, I just make it for fun. Yeah, just for fun. It's my first uh gallery thing, so yeah, here we are.
Maybe entering a little bit more of a formal setup, but I feel like you kept the playful elements too even longer. Janelle shared that the smiley face was maybe a spontaneous choice
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
it was. It was cool showing me do that.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. Um, I love that both of your entry points are pretty casual and accessible into this. I'd I'd be curious to know, Chad, do you think about your audience member as you're creating? I feel like Hop just said that he's creating it for the passerby. Are you considering like what they'll take in, or is it coming just from you?
It's pretty self-serving, honestly. Like, I mean, I always want people to like what I do, but a lot of it, I'm just kind of sorting things out in my own head and like, I'm always trying to tell a story with it. But I don't want it to be too obvious to people,
Mhm.
and I like to leave room for people to kind of interpret things their own way. But I mean, ultimately, no, I don't really think about the audience too much.
Definitely. No, I think that's great.
I always just have to get the work out of my head and out of my system. That's my whole thing.
Show.
I want to hear more about both your guys' process. Like, what comes to you first, the visual or the idea, or are you finding the junk in this case, as this
Yeah.
show is titled Junk Drawer? Like,
Yeah.
what's first sparking that?
I would say for me at least, it's I look for things that I'm gonna like I could turn into something or manipulate it into something else. I'm not like again, I'm not the most like detailed oriented artist, but uh yeah, I just look for like yeah, I look for the little things that no one gives a shit about and the things that are overlooked. Um and I just try to make them brighter if anything. I don't know, like I'll turn something into like recently I did a Coke can. And it was just a cement thing in the ground no one cares about, and I just turned it into a Coke can, and it's like gotten a bunch of people taking photos of it, and it's everyone walked by it before, and now they stop and look at it, I guess. So I just think that kind of thing's cool. And yeah, I definitely look for found objects. Yeah.
Let's keep riding that wave. Kind of like the unexpectedness of of these objects, what does it feel like to have your work presented in a gallery, whereas you're maybe more so used to it being like out in the wild, where someone would stumble upon it?
Yeah.
Right now, you're in a space that like mostly requires someone to enter
Enter. Yeah, yeah,
and kind of know what they're doing at least a little bit.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's definitely my first time doing something like this. So I invited as many people as I could, I guess. I don't know. And yeah, a bunch of people showed up that I don't know that I thought were worthy of coming. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I don't do galleries ever very often and clearly, and I just yeah, I make it for fun. Yeah, so coming I appreciate anyone that came in here and checked it out.
Well, and it's fun that you typically are bringing something creative, something clever, something artistic outside. And now in this show, you brought some like unexpected. I mean, it's the Campbell's soup can, right?
Yeah.
Shingles as a
Yeah, yeah.
that's from outdoors, and to bring that in the concrete and everything, like a found object isn't maybe what you expect to find
Yeah.
in a gallery. So I still think you're getting that unexpected
Okay.
surprise here.
Yeah. I found that on the freeway. It's just this big cement thing, and I drove by it like 6 times, and I was like, "I wonder how heavy that is," and then I would drive by, I'm like, "Man, I could turn that into something," and I would drive by, and I'm like, "I'm gonna stop and get that one day." Then I did. Yeah, I had to yeah, I stopped around the freeway, I was like it wasn't a very wide median, so I had to stop up a distance and then walk back on this bridge. Yeah, pretty spooky, but I'm walking back with this big ass heavy thing.
That's awesome.
Or when I take the monsters, like the big boxes, I always think about what people think when I'm like carrying this thing down the street. Oh, that's random.
Mhm. Do you get much interaction, or do you witness people kind of reacting to your work?
Yeah, I've seen like I have a book and in it I have photos of people that are taking photos of the art. That makes sense. And that's just like on the fly. So like I've been like walking around and I'll be like, oh wow, someone's looking at that, and I'll snap a photo. So I assume if like I'm seeing it just on the random that there's some other people out there that are getting to enjoy it as well. But yeah, I don't know.
And Chad, what do you feel like your experiences with your art? Maybe a little less public in nature, but you're still using these found objects in the way that you have these layers, correct?
Yeah, I was just thinking when Hawk was talking, like we're both using found objects, but like almost opposite ways. Where you're finding canvases and turning that into the work. I'm like trying to find things and plaster them onto the work.
Yeah.
But it's again just trying to bring attention to things that people would otherwise ignore, or throw out. Um, that piece with the little ballerina girl came out of a whole box of old slide film that I found in the dumpster because I'm always looking for cool stuff. And I was just going through all of these old family photos, and most of it's just belonged in the trash, but found some gems. I was like, oh, that's going to be a piece. Like,
Yes,
bow.
definitely. And it sounds like you kind of trust your intuition on like where things should be placed and like the composition and such.
Yeah. Composition, like, very important to me, but it's not something I like actively think about. I don't really know how to explain that more. I feel like some people will learn compositional rules and they just try to adhere to them, or they try to plan what they're going to do. And I feel like it needs to be more of a tool you have to like just kind of intuitively know this belongs over here. Like I've talked a lot with people about like I come from a background of photography, and just like rule of thirds, like it's a very simple concept of where you're placing objects in your image. But I don't sit there with a tape measure and be like, okay, here's this quadrant and I need to place something there. I'm just kind of like, okay, that's there. But if I notice a piece is kind of, the image is just weighted one way, I'll try to offset it and balance something. So,
No. Yeah. I there are a lot of parallels between your art despite them being so different. Like you both speaking about intuition and just maybe being like called to certain things and not having to think of so hard about like why they're calling you, but just kind of trusting that and creating the work
Yeah, that's good. It's fair.
from there.
I like that.
Uh,
Flipper.
we talk more about the process of creating, maybe some of the materials or challenges that you
Yeah.
encounter, like you said, the layering of your collages and how they come to be.
Um, what kind of challenges do I run into? A lot of my stuff, you'll notice it's just image transfers. I started doing that again because I was doing photography, but I didn't want to just do prints because it just seemed cheap to me. Because, dude, like, okay, here's a print, I can make 500 more. I love the aesthetic of screen printing, but I didn't want to do screen printing because, again, if I'm going to take the time to make a screen, set it up, I'm going to feel obligated to make a whole run of that. And now I've got 20 of the same image again. We're right back where we started. So I learned this process, but it's a very tedious process. If you're not familiar with it, you're just basically taking prints, slapping it face down in like a layer of Mod Podge, and then getting the paper wet and wiping away the paper. So you have to get all the paper dissolved, and it just will leave the ink trapped on the image.
Hmm.
I started with just doing that as photos, like of my photos, but then started working it more into like the collage style stuff to see now. And then building textures always what I'm trying to do in various ways. I started doing more of actually just doing more straight collage along with the transfers. Because sometimes I like the feel of just the actual paper on there. Uh, am I answering your question at all?
So, well, I mean, I love to collage, but I haven't dabbled in the photo transfer a whole lot. I did know of a ceramics teacher who would do it onto clay,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know if she was using then glaze, I guess in hindsight maybe. That was somehow a thing. Or maybe she glazed over it to keep the image there. Uh no, but they're really cool, and I think it's funny, if I create a collage, I'd be wacky enough to say, "This paper goes here, and this paper's, like, adjacent to it." There really wasn't much layering to it, and so I'm always curious when someone has, like, really layered art, how do you know when it's done? Because in theory, you can continue to add and do you? Is this kind of a back and forth?
Yeah, that's again more like a intuition kind of thing. I try to be aware of not overworking the piece. Cause yeah, there's that tendency to want to just keep doing more and more shit. And like sometimes like just leave it alone. It's good. Like you don't have to pack 5 million things onto here. When I start a piece, what I'll usually do, I usually work one of two ways. I'll either have the idea right away. I don't feel like, especially as I've gotten older, those pieces usually turn out as good as the ones where I just will lay down like a very abstract base layer. Like I'll mess around with like pour painting, and almost always use like just paint knives. I don't really use brushes much. Slap a couple layers on, stack some stuff, like some layers of color while it's wet, and scrape away. And do I have something that I feel like a lot of people are like, that's a good abstract piece. And for me, that's just the beginning canvas. Um, then I'll usually have like whatever image I think is going to go on it and start with that and then start building in around that. Sometimes I'll paint over big portions of stuff. You won't even see half the work I did. Other times I'll be fighting to like not paint over it because I'm like, oh, I'm going to destroy this. It gets tricky. Yeah. Trying to figure out when to put stuff on. There's times where I've had to go back and redo the image transfer because I started adding stuff. I'm like, oh, this has to go here, but I'm going to cover up a critical part of the piece. And so I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. And go back and transfer back over it.
Uh-huh. Yes. A continual evolution. Yeah, no. And okay, I have to ask you, with this process, are we talking like days, weeks?
For a finished piece,
Yeah.
it could be anywhere from an afternoon to months. But when I say months, I'm not continuously working on it. I'll get to a lot of points. Like I said earlier, a lot of my work is exploration. And I'll get to a certain point in a piece where I like it and I don't want to ruin it yet. but I don't know where I'm going, and I'll just be staring at it for like every time I pass it, I'll be like, huh, what does that need? And usually what'll happen eventually, it'll just come to me one day and I'll just finish it like right away. Other times I'll have like what I consider a cursed canvas and it'll haunt me for months, if not years. And
Yeah.
I don't want to throw it away, but I'm also tired of looking at it and like,
Yeah.
um,
Like pinpointed like
yeah.
what needs to be shifted.
I threw away
Well,
a
nice.
couple canvases, making them. I don't do canvases very often. And you're right. It was like some of them I'm like, it fail after fail after fail. I'm like, this thing's fucking cursed, man. Toss. And I just keep it moving. But your canvases are really nice, and like I'm buying like, not the nicest canvases. I could throw them away, but like, I wouldn't throw something like that away.
I build these because I'm poor, and I learned it was easier just to build my wood panels rather than buying the art store wood panels that cost damn near as much as I'm charging for a lot of the pieces.
Yeah.
I also like the wood because it's easier for doing transfers. If you want to try doing the image transfers, canvas sucks really bad for that. So
Yeah. That's a great point.
So what's something you would transfer it onto that's easy?
easy,
Yeah.
wood,
Wood.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And what about you, Hop? Like, how do you feel like you kind of know when your pieces are done and ready to go? Are you going all of that intuition as well? Is it happening all in one moment, or does it take time?
Well, it's a couple of things. It's like speed. You don't want to be out like in the field too much, too long, spray painting something. But then also, I don't want it to like, if it's gonna sit there, I don't want it to be awful. So like, I just try my best, and then I just go off of my gut feeling on people walking around or whatever, and just make a call at that point. But there's been a few times that I have stopped doing what I was doing and come back to it. And yeah, but there's other times that I just kept going and I probably shouldn't have. So yeah.
I was gonna ask you, are you doing this like in the light of day? Are you getting
Yeah.
reactions from people?
Yeah.
Has there ever been any?
I don't normally do it at night because I go out by myself. I've never really gone out with anybody to do any kind of art. I just by myself. And yeah, so there's wait, what was the question? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Like, it's just kind of like that process of when you are creating these works on the street that
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
people might not
That's
think are approved.
Yeah. That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're normally they're good reactions to when they come up to me. There's no one ever really upset about it, but also I pick and choose my battles. So I would say I don't like. I always I don't go over to the whatever the hell that place is right there and start spray painting my name. I'm just not gonna do that because that's not really what I want to do. So I would like to see something become something, or yeah, just create something you're gonna see and be like, oh, that's clever or whatever the hell. And also why I would like to learn the transfer thing on wood. That'd be sweet. Go up to like a bando and do a whole wooden. That'd be sweet.
That would be awesome.
Ah,
And were you talking about weight transfers earlier?
Yeah.
Too? I feel like we could all.
yeah, no, that'd be sweet. I would like to learn that. That'd be sweet. Cause imagine doing like, well, I guess you have to have a whole picture of somebody, but like a whole picture of someone on like a 6 foot person. That'd be creepy. I don't know, that'd be weird. Oh, I would love to learn that though. That'd be sweet. I always use a lot of like, I'm never really consistent. So when I started doing the canvases, that's when I realized I'm like, wow, I'm really not good at this. And I can't paint very well and stuff like that. Unless I'm out in like the street doing it, because I feel like there's more give and leeway because I'm doing it so fast. But when it comes to a canvas or like his canvases, I cannot fathom it. I really can't. I'm like sitting, like I'm telling you, I threw away a couple canvases because I was like, this is just something wrong with this process, and I don't get it. toss. So like, I don't know. I'll stop talking.
No, but like maybe being out in public, like with that time element, maybe you get out of your head a little bit more. And it's
Yeah.
just, again, intuition feels like the common thread here where you're just trusting yourself.
Yeah. I kept, like he was saying, don't overdo it. I think I keep overdoing it is what it is. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to add this to it and I'm going to add this to it. And then you just fucked it up. It's ruined now. It's done. And it's like, yeah, I learned that doing this, that I was like, man, this is really challenging to do on a canvas and like learn when to stop or when to, oh, this isn't enough. Maybe you should have a little bit more, whatever. I learned a lot doing this. I was like, man, this is tricky. I'm a photographer and videographer by trade. Like that's what I do. That's what I went to school for. So yeah, I've never been good at art, painting, anything. I've never been good at anything like that. So, but I got like a full ride for film, for video, and for photography and stuff like that. And that's where I feel that I shine the most. And it's easiest. Street art is not easy, and like canvases are harder than even street art to me. So I don't know, just putting that all together.
I think the time constraints, it seems counterintuitive, but it's very freeing
Yeah.
because you're like, I just got to get to work. It's like when I've done scroll a couple times, it's like a giant piece and I'll be able to knock it out in those couple days, whereas I'll have these sitting around for months. And I've thought a lot about that. I do a lot of music too. And you would think having unlimited resources and unlimited time would result in better work, but you have more time to overanalyze, overthink, and just fool around with stuff.
Yeah.
So having
Yeah.
a deadline, a time crunch, or just limiting what you're going to work with a lot of times makes it easier to just get stuff done.
That's why, like, when I made this pizza and some of the other stuff, like the cigarettes and stuff like that, I made it on the fly, like if I was to do it. But like this is like I've made sewers, like there's sewers that has like the bumps all over them, and they kind of look like this. But like I've made sewers look like that in the street, and I did it as fast as I would do it out there. So like you could also kind of see that if you wanted to, I guess. I don't know. Because that's something again you don't want to like get caught doing is spray painting the sewers. They get upset. That is one thing that I know that they get upset about. That and when they used to have the meters that would take money, when they took all the things off of them, there was poles everywhere, all over. And I was just spray painting those into cigarettes everywhere. And I had a cop go, you can't do that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, but they're just sitting here. They're going to get torn out. And he's like, no, they're not. They're going to sit there and they're going to be cigarettes and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, well, I won't do that. But I learned that that's one thing. And I got to stay away from like the sewers. I learned these things through trial and error. But yeah, I was painting a sewer one time and I had a police officer come up and say it's government property or whatever, the state property, and I damaging it, I go to jail, all this other stuff. And I was like, all right, touche. I'll stick to the whatever that's not. And that's what, yeah, I pick and choose what I'm going to do because of stuff like that as well. I don't want to encounter anybody. I'm just out by myself. I don't want to interact unless it's good interaction. I don't want to interact with somebody like, what are you doing? I'm always like, oh, like if someone's ever like that. But that's very rare. That's far, but I've been doing it for probably over 10 years now, I'd say. So yeah, that's weird to think about as well. I've been doing this a long time. Many moons.
That's a good segue because I'd be curious to know how you guys feel like your work's evolved over time. It sounds like in many respects you feel like you're self-taught. So like a lot of those 10 years probably included some trial and error, reversion and some changes and maybe tightening of your work or loosening up.
Yeah.
What did it look like 10 years ago versus today?
The cigarettes, for example, have dots on them to make it almost look like it's like a pop art type of feel. But before, when I made them, they were a different tone of filter, and I would take the white paint and I would sling it on so it looked like an actual kind of like filter. but then you can't see that from a distance and you can't recognize that from a distance. And I realized that, so I turn it into this thing that you can be like, oh, it's the dots on the thing. That's a cigarette. So once you know that that's what it is, it's hard to not see them. I swear. At least for me, I'll be driving by and I always tell my girlfriend, I always say, you see me riding. What if if a piece is there? I'm like, oh, you see me riding? And she gets so annoyed with me, but yeah. Or if I see a soup can, I have stickers that I put on all over the place that are soup can stickers. And if I see that, I go, soup can? Very stupid. She gets annoyed with me.
You got your own little like visual language out there, though.
Yes.
Little pieces of.
Yep.
And I would argue that's something the city should be accepting of
For sure.
and promoting because it makes their landscape more interesting. Sure. Like people like when things are out of ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What do you feel like about your evolution? The collages kind of been similar through the years.
They've changed a lot, but I never feel like I'm evolving as much as I want to. Like, I always feel like I'm stuck doing the same work over and over. And like I'm trying to like grow and expand my vision, I guess. But if I look at like the long scale, it's definitely changed and it's gotten, I don't know, refined is the right word for it, more focused. Like moving from just doing photos to the more collage and integrating stuff like that. Like that piece up on the top right is the oldest one here. It's from like 2014.
Okay.
So my early stuff was more like that. And you can kind of tell it's just more bare bones and stripped down where I started building out more layers and stuff.
Like the dollars are sick. How do you do that?
Just image transfers. I just took a photo or scanned
Of
a
a dollar.
dollar bill and then printed it out. And
I have dollars. I made a stencil. I got into doing stencils not too long ago, probably 2 years ago. And I made dollar bill stencils and I put them going into the sewer. So it's money down the drain. Yeah, and that's also one I got to be careful of because they see me down there by the sewer and I don't want to get in any trouble. But you can be in and out pretty quick.
There was a little.
It's money just falling into the thing. It's awesome. I did it too. This is probably the most illegal thing I've ever done, but it was at a bank downtown. It's a closed bank. It's closed, but it was an old ATM and I had the money like pouring out of the ATM onto the floor. That's probably the coolest thing I think I've ever done. No, it's the most illegal thing I've ever done. As I was doing it, I was like, man, and it's across the street from the State House. It's like the State House right there, and this is right here. And I don't know, there's all these people walking around and stuff. So I just